Hey, AfterBuzzers. Welcome back to the Good Doctor After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight, we are talking Season 2, Episode 13, Jin, and it means heart. Shaun has a big ol' heart and just wants to help those he cares about. A family reunites, and Morgan giving love advice. What? We also have a really special guest here who's going to answer most of your questions, so don't go anywhere.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome back to the Good Doctor After Show. We have a full house in here, a full house of ladies. Yeah. We are so excited to talk about this episode. I'm your host, Veronica Valencia, and to my left we have...
Hey guys, it's me, Carlina Will.
Hey guys, Jaimi Alexander. Thanks for having me.
And I am Taquaila Jackson.
And if you have been keeping us, and if you have been following us from last week's episode and following us on Twitter, you would know that our special guest is Simran Baidwan. Y'all, she is the reason we weep. She is the reason we laugh. She is the reason for all of it. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Coming up later in the show, of course, we're going to be talking about Leah and Shaun. We're going to be talking about Glassman and his recovery. We will be talking about the mechanical heart patient, as well as Lemon Melendez trying to keep their relationship a secret, as well as we will highlight a real-life good doctor. But until then, everyone, tonight's episode, what did we think?
Oh my goodness. Okay. The Leah and Shaun thing, I just felt so awkward for that, so I'm excited to get into that situation. It was awkward with a capital A, and then I was really upset with Glassman, you know, on how he treated Shaun, so I'm excited to get more into that.
He just wants to love people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode. I really liked the way all of the relationships were highlighted in a different way. It definitely tugged on my heartstrings. So I'm excited to get into it because there was a lot of little nuances and, you know, relationship, whether it was dating relationship or, like you said, Shaun and Glassman, or even the relationship with Grace Lee and her mom. So the relationships, it really stood out, and it just tugged on my heartstrings. So I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to piggyback off of you, Jaimi. I feel like this is the first episode that I just, almost cried. Really, almost. I was y'all know that I'm so in tune to everything when I watch. So every little thing gets into me. But this is because I have tunnel vision and I'm just focused on it so hard. I think the Leah and awkward is a great word, but I just felt so bad for Shaun. Like, that just had tugged at my heartstrings. And then Dr. Glassman, we need to get happy, Dr. Glassman. We need to get him back.
Yeah, we definitely do.
We need to get him healthy, and yeah.
I agree with all of you. Shaun definitely broke my heart a little bit. And Simran, I know it has been a little bit of a while since you worked on this episode, but do you remember what it was like writing this specific episode?
Well, this episode I didn't write. This Brian Shin wrote this episode. He did a wonderful job. He's a staff writer on the show. It was directed by David Straighton, who has done, a gazillion shows. I actually went to Vancouver and helped produce the show with Brian, so I was on set for a while. We had two phenomenal actors that I got to work with when we were there who played the autistic couple. They were amazing, Vered Blonstein and Alex Plank, who are actually from the autistic community, and they're amazing actors, period. And so it was a real pleasure to work with them as well. So that when I was there for that first week, I got to work with them. But, we in the room, we get to help break the episodes and, really go over the stories and go over everything together. But this was really Brian's brainchild as far as the mechanical heart and really wanting to put forward, a couple from the autistic community and putting them at the forefront of this story.
I was going to ask, was it discussed in the writing room if you specifically wanted actors from the autistic community
100%.
To portray these characters?
100%. Yeah, I think it's really important to have authentic representation from various communities, whether it's on this episode. I wrote an episode last year called She, which was based about a transgender child, and the first thing I said was we need to find a transgender child, and we did. We found this wonderful young girl to play the role, and I think as much authenticity as we can give to any role, our producers, David Shore, our creator, Aaron Gunn, our EP, they always say absolutely. That is so important for all of our producers and all of our writers on the show.
That's beautiful. And I think that's something that we've discussed loving on this show is the amount of authenticity and research, the amount of research I'm sure that goes into making sure that all of the medical terminology is correct, making sure that you are portraying these characters the correct way and making sure that there is no like portraying any type of stereotypes. So we love that transparency and that authenticity with this show. Definitely.
Thanks. We try really hard about doing that. We have consultants in all different areas. We have an autism specialist who we consult with, and like we say, like, you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So we understand that they're, just like anybody else, you meet, multiple people, that nobody's going to be exactly the same, but we want to understand and just really open the door on all different people from all different backgrounds that, hey, as much as we are different, we're also very much alike. And so we all have different struggles and different, things that we deal with in life, whether it's relationships with our parents or relationships, of a sexual nature or whatever it might be.
And speaking of relationships, I think it's great to get into Shaun's relationship with both Leah and Glassman this episode. So let's first touch on Shaun and Leah. I know we had already kind of said there's some awkwardness. Do we want to expand on that?
I mean, I thought it was really sweet. I actually didn't find it to be awkward because we're dealing with Shaun and he's being authentic. And it's just really endearing. And I love the way he is really learning how to navigate relationship because he struggled so much in the beginning, but he's come a long way since episode 1 of season 1. He's come so far as being able to take constructive criticism, lean in, be like, oh, so you're Jake, I like him. And, he's trying. And I think that's what a good person would do. And I just thought it was really endearing. I loved it. I love it. I love the effort he put in.
So I want to give a shout out to Frank S. in the chat. He says he likes how Leah and Shaun's relationship is getting deeper, especially when he said, "My life is better with you in it."
Oh, I literally wrote that down in my notes.
Yeah. So I'm going to tag off a little bit of what Frank S. said because I still feel like Leah is shady boots and I don't want them living together. And so I don't know if she is as genuine as Shaun is. And yes, Shaun is learning, but she knows. And not to say that, like, she knows when she's using somebody. His is genuine, and he's not sure. And so then he does the research to find out, was this what is supposed to happen? Or he asks questions to people he trusts and confides in to see if he's doing the right way or how he should change. He internalizes and then makes a decision based on how he actually feels. Right. But Leah, she came back for what reason? I just
well,
feel
we have
still
someone who possibly knows the word.
Miss Simran, if you can give us a list, am I right? Is Leah, is she shady boots or not? Or I still think she has.
I can't wait. I want to text Paige after this, be like, they're calling you shady boots.
She has some underlying still needs. I think she's using Shaun in a way. If you can expound upon that to help me feel a little better, then.
We don't think she's using Shaun.
Okay.
I think that Paige really, sorry. now I'm confounding the actress. Leah comes from a place of genuineness. Like she really, I think the thing that we loved about her character and the way that she interacts with Shaun is that she treats Shaun like Shaun, like another dude. She doesn't talk about like, oh, you're the autistic guy or anything like that. Like when we first meet her, you're the neighbor. You got batteries, you got this, let's do this. And she was very reluctant, if you remember at the beginning of the season, about moving in with him, about all of it. And she said, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. I know you think of me in a way that I don't think of you. And he said, I'm going to work on it. I can do this. And she still said no. So we had a whole bunch of episodes that really delved into that and we talked about the moving in and really trying to compromise about living together and, just trying to evolve into this new roommate relationship and this new platform. And now with her dating, him saying, I think it's going to be okay. And she's like, are you sure? I'm sorry. I should have told you I would have brought I'm bringing somebody over. She's trying to be as conscientious as possible, but then still trying to live her life.
Absolutely.
And taking him at his word, I'm okay with it. And I think as much as you can say, and this goes for anybody who's neurotypical or not, I'm okay with it, your heart still feels a different way.
Yeah.
And you see that. And it is heartbreaking because no matter who it is, if I can say as much as I want, I'll just be your friend. But if your heart is feeling a different way, it's going to hurt. And I think that, you feel that. You feel the ache. And, we all love Shaun. Everybody wants to protect him and love him.
Yeah, that's probably the key. That's it.
Literally. Awkward. That's why I was like, it was awkward. But, I mean, like you just said, Simran, like, he agreed to that. She said, "Are you going to be okay with me bringing guys home?" And he said, "I could be okay with that." So I think that's just him trying to be okay with it, like you just said. So, I mean, he agreed. I know everybody feels bad for Shaun, but he knew what he was walking into. He signed up for it.
Yeah, and she was, like I said, she was very cautious about that. And I think she does try to proceed with caution, and she does try to take his feelings into account. I don't think she does anything, in a callous manner or anything. Like, I mean, she's very conscientious about preserving that relationship and that friendship, because I think, she's, again, stated in previous episodes that, like, she doesn't have a good track record with dudes, and to have a genuine friendship with a guy, I think that even moving in with him, she was afraid of jeopardizing that friendship. So
Absolutely.
to her, the friendship is paramount.
See, I kind of saw it a different way. I didn't see it as I didn't see it as like a romantic, like Shaun being jealous over the fact that Leah is bringing guys home. I saw it as Shaun has kind of very few genuine relationships in his life, very few people he really feels like he can count on. And I think this episode, he felt like he was being left behind because Leah was spending a lot of her time with someone else and kind of ignoring Shaun. And then Glassman this episode was continuously telling Shaun, "I don't need you, go away, I don't need you." And so I kind of saw it as more Shaun not being jealous, but Shaun being worried he might be left alone.
No, I think it's a great observation. I think in that way of, like, I'm going to bring the orange juice because,
Can we talk about that spread too? Look at
Right?
that
I was like, let me get that popcorn and juice.
But it makes sense, right? Like, if I like Jake, then Jake will hang out. Then they'll let me hang out. That means I get to then hang out more with Leah, and not understanding that they're going to need alone time.
I think that was the part too, the alone time, where she had to kind of like break it to him, and he's just like, yeah, well, she'll allow it for this time, but future. That's the part that kind of just was like, made me just want to go give him a hug, like it's gonna be okay. So now I guess I feel like, thank you for confirming. I guess Leah is genuine and she's not shady.
Wait, is this
I'm
apology
sorry.
I'm hearing?
It is, yes.
After 13 episodes?
Because I've been on Leah for a while, so I'm sorry. But yeah, so I do feel that now, one of you just said I'm sorry, but that it is about him now finding his cohort of friends or group of friends that may be outside of his work life, and just to kind of have his circle too when he does need to venture out to other people if they're busy.
Yeah. And let's also quickly talk about his relationship with Glassman, because we did kind of touch upon this. What did we think? Taquaila, you were saying we need Happy Glassman back.
Going into just, it goes back a little bit. So last year at Paley Fest, I was able to interview, not Dr. Glassman because that's not his actual name, but yes, Richard. And he has this which I love, and like all the other reporters were kind of getting like annoyed because he's very sarcastic, and I was laughing the whole time behind the scenes, and he was like, "Oh, you get me, right?" And I was like, "I think so, because it's funny. If it's not funny, I'm sorry." But so just to see that and to see how it kind of comes across a little bit in his character in the show, that's more of what I would like to see. And I don't like him hurting just the people around who I'm really trying to help. Again, I can understand the trial that he's going through, having chemo, having to go through that. And it is true. I just lost a friend to cancer. So at the end, she, did push people away. And that's hard to deal with because you just want to be there and support and uplift and love on. But I don't like that he's just being mean to everybody. And it's just coming out of everywhere. And especially the Shaun, especially was it last week too, when he asked Shaun, are we really friends? And I was like, how dare you? I was annoyed. So yeah, I want healthy Glassman back, who's on Shaun's side, fighting for Shaun against all the doctors and directors in the hospital and whoever else may come for Shaun.
Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate for you, just because with brain surgery, because you guys knew about my dad being a stroke survivor and having 8 hours of brain surgery. It's just it's brain surgery. Like your emotions are affected, while they're in there, so you're gonna have mood swings up and down. So I don't think, as we could see, towards the end, that he did really want Shaun there. I think there was just burst of his emotion. There was no filter, just really what he was thinking at the moment, but deep down he really wanted him there. So, after any, especially brain surgery, serious operation, it does affect your personality.
Skills
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I definitely feel empathetic for him. And I can also see he's a strong character. And I can relate to that because it's like, it would drive me nuts if people had to do everything for me, or if I wasn't able to do things, and it would make me angry and irritable. So I think that Leah nailed it when she's like, he's in pain, he's frustrated, and he's nauseous. Like, you know, so that's the beauty of having good friends, is being able to go through the ups and downs. And Shaun was able to do that gracefully by being, you know, pushed away, but then like, okay, I'm not going to help, but I'm still your friend, you know? So he's surrounded by wonderful people, which should also help in the healing process. But we got to allow him his grouchiness and his space to heal.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I was just going to ask Simran actually.
How are we doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, but what was it? Because I know you have a room full of writers and you're there working alongside with them a lot of the time. What's it been like kind of working on this Richard's journey with Glassman this season?
You know, it was really, like you said, it was very teed up at the end of last season, very much, you know, with the brain cancer. And we really wanted to do it properly and pay tribute to that journey, because we know it was such an important thing. We knew it wasn't going to just be a 3-episode arc, that it was going to be a season-long journey for Glassman and a season-long journey for Shaun, to watch his mentor, the pillar of his life, the pillar of this hospital, you know, come to terms with battling this really life and death illness. And what was Shaun's journey going to be like, watching his mentor and best friend having to deal with this? So you're watching two people go through this journey, and watching that relationship and how it evolves. How does, you know, when you've relied on someone to be the person who you lean on, now you are the one who has to be leaned upon. And it's a little bit of a role reversal for that relationship, and how Glassman, you know, like I'm sure it's very difficult for anybody, whether it's a parent or whether it's a mentor or, you know, a teacher, to have to allow the student or to allow a child to then have to take over. And I think that it's just exploring all of that and just giving it the space and the air to really, you know, let that grow and like just breathe, you know, from episode to episode. That's why it's been done. And I think David Shore has really thoughtfully, you know, crafted that throughout the whole season, and wanting us to have the space to do it for, you know, all of the episodes.
I love that.
Very true.
Because it needs the space for that, just to stay true to what is really going on. It's not going to be like one episode he's good and the next episode he's, you know, one episode he's bad and then the next episode he's back to normal. Wouldn't, you know, I like the way that's,
And
that you guys thought about that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Like we always say, though, too, just the authenticity of the show. That's a good point, because if you do have an argument, you might have to breathe on it. You might have to take a moment to step back and think, get your feelings in order before you respond or get that out. So I think that's a great point, and you all do great. All the writers do on the show. Thank you. Yeah.
It's actually funny because we've been talking on the show about, especially with this journey, you know, there's always the possibility it could turn out with a very unfortunate ending for Glassman. But we've been talking about on the show, in comparison to most medical dramas, The Good Doctor is kind of more so overall positive. Like, there's not many patient cases where things go terribly wrong. There's always kind of a nice outcome. And we're just kind of patiently sitting here, like, waiting for something to drop, like something's going to happen. And it's like, we don't know if it's going to be this. And then like a few episodes ago, we were teased with Dr. Lim maybe not making it through the quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Y'all like making us panic.
A little bit.
B's like looking at her like, y'all like making us feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's the I mean, yes, but we do have the reality of sometimes people not making it, and people sometimes you make what you think are the right decisions and they have unfortunate consequences, or you make, you know, poor decisions and they can have, you know, they can have good consequences for, you know, good results for the patient, but they can have adverse consequences for the doctors or the family, or, you know, and sometimes it's about making those tough decisions. And I think really going under, you know, David Shore really talks about, like, you know, when we're crafting these stories, about digging deeper. You know, it's great, you know, what are these cool, funky medical conditions, but it's really about the characters. Why are we exploring, you know, why are we meeting these characters? Why are Shaun and Claire and, you know, Park and Lim and Melendez, and, you know, why are they all, Morgan, why are they meeting these people, and why are they coming into our worlds, and how is Shaun going to change these people? He may or may not, or adversely, you know, how are they going to change, you know, our characters? And it's about, like, just what is it about their lives and what is it about them? What does it mean to have them in our world? And so it's really, again, it's about the complex characters and, really getting at the richness of humanity and what does that mean about the human condition. And I think that's David's sweet spot. That's why he is so great at what he does and why it's such a pleasure to work with him, because just really digging into what it means to finding those little nuggets and those threads about what makes humans so complex.
Yeah, you guys have mastered that, because it permeates through the whole show, because everything that the characters have either been through or are going through correlates to how they can serve the next person, whether it be the patient or somebody that they're working with.
Or themselves.
Or themselves.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many moral and ethical questions, and
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, well, are you doing this? Is this a self-seeking, decision, or is it because you have an ego that you want to do this surgery, or what? What is it? What is it really telling about yourself? And really, at the end of the day, they're regular people like you and me. They just happen to be having somebody's heart in their hands, and it's never taking away the humanity of the fact that these are people. They're not just a patient, they're not just a lab report, they're not some, these are people, these are human beings, these are lives that you're affecting and changing. And I think that like I said, David is a master at really honing into the complexity of the human condition and characters. It's what he did so beautifully at House, and what he's done, on Sneaky Pete, and what he done in Battle Creek, and what he's done here. So to get the opportunity to work with him on this, it's like everybody's like, yes, please.
And of course, with so many characters and with so much to talk about, I'm sure you guys love talking about TV as much as we do. And there's so much more TV that you could be talking about. And I will let Jaimi take it from here.
Yeah, Veronica, thank you so much. So guys, before we move on to our next topic, we just wanted to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. And for us to continue to grow, we actually need your help. So if you subscribe to YouTube right now, or if you're on YouTube right now, subscribe to any of our channels, hit the thumbs up. If you're on iTunes, give us 5 stars. Anything to just help us grow and show us the love. So no matter where you are, leave us a comment. We'll give you a shout out. You can get involved in our conversation. And being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us. So we truly appreciate your support and, excuse me, helping us do what it is that we love. And don't forget to tell your friends. And please keep enjoying our shows. So we actually do have a couple of fan questions, don't we?
We do.
We do.
Awesome.
They're actually for you, Simran. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
Terry, the introvert, wants to know, how was it? Because Freddie Highmore wrote the first episode. So how was it working with him behind the scenes?
Freddie is a consummate professional. He doesn't dig into or dive into anything without giving 100%. He really, it was so funny. He was on hiatus. He could have been, on a beach somewhere and just, drinking Mai Tais. But he didn't. He came into the offices and he was there day in, day out, pitching stories, writing note cards, throwing out ideas, eating lunches for weeks. I mean, it must have been at least 5 weeks. I mean, he was there for the beginning of the season, and he was there 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., however long we were there, but he was really in there in the trenches with us. And before we knew it, he was like one of us, and we were just sitting at the conference table, and before you know it, he was just, there was no pretense about, oh, this is number 1 on the call sheet. This is Freddie Highmore. It was just, he was one of us. Mm-hmm. And it was just really lovely and wonderful to see his insights and just really his thoughtfulness to the process and to just engaging with everybody, And I think, he turned out a really, really beautiful episode, and it was really a lot of fun to work with him. And, he's not writing any more episodes this season, but he is, he did direct an episode that'll be coming up into, yeah, so episode 215. So in a couple of weeks, you'll see he directed that episode, which is written by Liz Friedman and David Renault. So yeah, it's a really good one.
That's awesome.
He's multi-talented.
That's great. And then we actually have another question. Yes. What's it like writing for a medical drama as opposed to another type of show, comedy or straight up drama? Because you can't do normal things another show, like if for example a backstory of a character, you can't just do an episode of a backstory. Like we kind of noticed you've woven in the character's backstory throughout multiple episodes, and of course all of the research. So could you explain a little bit more about writing for a medical drama specifically?
Well, I think every medical drama is different. I've written for a couple of them. I wrote on Chicago Med, and I wrote on Royal Pains, and then but I think everybody is, it's structured differently. There are some shows that are more serialized. There are some that are, far more procedural in element. But at the end of the day, like shows that are attractive to me, whether it's a legal show or it's, a more serialized show, it's about the characters. It really comes down to, is this, are these characters rich? Are they exciting? Are they complicated? Are they, I love, the fact that they're ordinary people sometimes put in extraordinary circumstances. And it may sound odd, but I think these are ordinary people. Being in a hospital, putting your hands in somebody's heart, like I said, is that's an extraordinary circumstance. And how does that change you? How does that evolve you? And it's really about, are you able to dig into those characters and really, have them evolve and have them change? And what is that about? So I think it's about, how does your showrunner see characters, and how important is that to your showrunner into the process of telling stories and, crafting television? And like I said, David to me is like on the Mount Rushmore of showrunners, and so to get an opportunity to work with him, because I know that characters are first and foremost in his world as far as writing television. That's what's important to me too.
Speaking of digging into these characters, we all know that you created Dr. Resnick and Dr. Lim's characters. What inspired you to create those characters? Because to me, they're just strong, powerful women, and I love it.
Well, yeah, I love that about them too. Dr. Lim she premiered in Not Fake, which was last year. It was the episode with the wedding bus that crashed. So it was the first time we had like a really big trauma in the show, and we knew that those people were going to come in through the ER. So I'm like, if they're coming through the ER, we need a trauma surgeon. And so I pitched to David. I was born and raised in San Jose. That's where I'm from, and I grew up in the Bay Area. And for me, I'm all about well, representation. I want to see, an Asian, female, and we didn't have any attendings on the show yet that were women. We had Dr. Andrews, and we had Dr. Melendez, and we had Dr. Glassman. So I just pitched David, said, hey, can we have like a badass female trauma surgeon, and can she be Asian? And he's like, great. And that's David. He's always open to like any ideas. Like, all right, he'll hear anything. So that's what's great about him too. There's always this open door policy about like, you want to say something, you want to pitch something, let's hear it. And so that's what I did. I just wrote that character, and he was like, let's do it. And so we were fortunate. We went out with casting, and we cast, Christina Chung, who is fantastic. And, she was just like, she hit the page and she hit the screen, and we were like, we love her. And then we cast her. We were like, will you come back and do another episode? And before we knew it, we're like, can you come back and be a series regular?
Yeah. She is totally happy. Which is every call an actor wants to get, right?
No, but she knocked it out of the park, and she's such a delight. She's such a wonderful human being, and just, she's an all-around like amazing human and an awesome actress, and we're very lucky to have her. And then Dr. Resnick's character, we had talked about in the room in general about really, bringing in somebody new to kind of like shake up. At that point, we had Claire and Jared and Shaun had become this very symbiotic, really lovely, harmonious trio. We're like, everybody's getting along a little too well. Maybe let's ruffle little feathers. And so the idea was like, let's try to bring somebody in to do that. And I had written my second episode last year was called She, and it was right around the time I was like, oh, this is a really kind of interesting time to bring somebody in, and let's kind of shake it up, and we'll kind of divide them into teams. And we kind of made it like a little contest. It was going to be Team Melendez and Team Lim, and it was going to be like whoever gets like the most votes from getting their patient satisfaction surveys back. And it was like, here's this new person, like, and who is she? And we just liked the idea of somebody, again, Claire is a very strong, smart woman, and we liked Resnick being a strong, smart woman, but she was just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to tell you I'm going to cut you. Like a little bit of like, I'm competitive, and I'm going to be very blunt about it. And I'm just, and it's not that, it was just, it's not the way Claire navigates her game. Like, it's not that she's not competitive, it's not that she's not strong, but she was just like, who are you? And so we just liked that she was just, maybe a little bit more abrasive. And we wanted her to be that way. We wanted her to come off a little bit more blunt and a little bit more competitive, but didn't, and maybe at first, she might have come off a little bit more villainous, but not in no terms did we ever want her to be one-dimensional, I think. And as she has come across it towards, again, you start out with a character and hopefully, you'll be able to dig deeper into who she is. And I think that oftentimes when you have these characters, those with the most thorns are often the ones that are the most sensitive. And hopefully we've been starting to peel back the layers of the onion that are, Dr. Resnick, and finding out a little bit more and more about her, that she's a little bit more complicated than we thought. And she's not just, the tough girl who doesn't want to have friends.
I want to say thank you for that, because when she was first introduced, I know myself and a couple of our chatters were like, "Oh, Morgan is horrible. Dr. Resnick is just."
You had another nickname for her too, in addition to like Leah's Shady Boots. It was something else, but
I come up with them and it just happens. But yes, I'm glad you said that and you gave us the detail, because now I feel better about giving you or receiving what you wanted the audience to get, which we just thought she was just evil. We were like, oh.
Well, it's funny, too, that you bring that up, because it was very clear in the beginning. Morgan was a little bit more abrasive, a little bit more blunt, a little bit more competitive. But even this episode and the last couple of episodes, we've been seeing a softer side of her. Last week with her outing with Claire. And then this episode, she's giving love advice, which is very different, because normally Morgan would be the more blunt one in the situation. But I felt like she was speaking from the heart this episode. What do you guys think? Yeah,
she was still blunt, but she was speaking from the heart. And I love the bluntness. I love Claire for the sweetness, but I love somebody who can get in and be like, I'm here to win. I'm here to do this. I'm here to get on board, sweetie. Or, I love that mode of hers. So, but even in the love advice, she was still very much like, yeah, because that's what people do in relationships. Like, she's still very sharp about it, and I love it.
That's a good friend right there.
Yes. Yeah. You'll never have to guess about what she's thinking
Yes, absolutely. I don't know, like going back to where you talking about, like, I just want to like jump back more into like Dr. Lim and, Melendez. I feel like that's a great relationship. So and we actually have a fantastic photo that I want to pull up of Christina, and Nick and, Hill. Like, yes, all those three actors right there. And this is where they
almost got
caught. It looks like they were like going in for like a kiss, but then their boss walks in, Dr. Andrews, and he's like, "Hello guys, I'm glad to see you're getting along." And it's just I'm kind of on I think, didn't I bring this up last week where I said the chief of surgery position, where it's going to be open? I feel like that's going to be a test of their relationship. And I want somebody else. I even pitched this, Simran. I want somebody else to come in and take the job, because that is going to like cause a problem for their relationship, and I'm not ready for it.
I know. We want to like see this we want to see it grow a little bit. We were waiting.
I'm just coming up with a name. Dr. Take. There we go. That'll be the new person.
That'll be the new doctor that's taking over.
Well, actually, that's a Dr. Take. There you go.
Well, I mean, Andrews is like the voice of the audience. He's the voice of you right now. He's like, yeah, I don't want you guys competing anymore.
Yeah.
You're nicer like this. So
I think Andrews knows what's going on, because he kind of gave a little.
You can't be that
walking out the elevator. He kind of
smart guy.
He doesn't know that.
No. I got a little vibe. Andrews might know a little something.
Look, I'm like turning to Simran. Does he know?
Does he know?
But
that's the fear, right? That's the fear of anybody who's in that kind of a relationship, especially if you're knocking boots with your coworker, and it's like, the walls have ears, and she's trying to be very protective. He's the one who's cozying up to her in that scene in the elevator, and she's like, "Are you crazy? Like, what, in the elevator?" And and I think she's just being conscientious about trying to preserve their workspace and their personal space. And I think it's smart. And I think that also being a woman, I think things are different. Things are perceived differently for women in those kinds of relationships when you're, in that workspace environment. Speaking personally, that happened to me many years ago. The person who I was, in a relationship with, we were both single, but we were both in a relationship and we were both working together. And it was like, I didn't want people to know, because I didn't want to be judged by it, and I didn't want them to think that there was he was a year senior to me in the office, and I didn't want to think we were never in the same department, but still in the same umbrella of the office, and it was like a whole thing. I didn't want people to know, and we ended up getting engaged. And then when people said, "Oh, who are you engaged to?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, Vince down the street," and they're like, "What? How?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," and people didn't know that we had been dating and that he was my boyfriend from college, and now I've been married to him for 15 years, but it was like the whole thing. But I very purposefully kept it separate, because I thought, I understand. So, you bring sometimes a lot of we all in the writer's room and everything, bring a lot of our personal experiences. We talk about that really openly in the writer's room. and I'm sharing my own personal story. I won't share other people's personal stories, but I talk about that. Like, I know what that's like. I know it, and I know what that's like from a point of view from a woman, where it might be different from the point of view of a man who's like, it's no big deal. I'm like,
Right.
It may not be a big deal for you, but it may be a bigger deal for her, even though they're on the same level.
I love that.
Yes, I do too, and because we have your personal experience. But my thing about them dating is because you can't. For me and my boyfriend, fiance, whoever, I'm not gonna want to like keep my hands off of you, and we have to be professional. So if we're in the elevator, that's a perfect time. Hug, kiss, if we're in the cafe or somewhere, I want to eat with you. Come eat with me, babe.
I'm more
Like,
old
I want to do that. So it probably couldn't work well for me because one of us would have to find a new career. But yeah.
I think I'm more classic. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I'm similar to you, Simran, like, what no one would know. Like, where, because I keep the PDA at home. So, yeah, I think I'd be really good at it.
I see fireworks. If you, it's just, and everything else is just out of order. There's no one else. It's tunnel visual with the hearts.
Like one of the filters with the hearts.
Instagram filter.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. You can have your own Shaun vision.
Exactly.
This is what Jaimi looks like when she sees Dr. Melendez.
Hearts.
Let's just throw up his picture again. Yeah. Can we throw up his picture one more time for her?
And he's so handsome. And to be honest, the first thing I thought when I saw him in the elevator, it's so funny because my mind was like, I wonder if there's a camera in the elevator, because there's a lot of cameras in the elevators normally. And I was like, you know what? Dr. Lim's about that life. She rides motorcycles. She likes to kick it.
She can live live her life on the edge.
Yeah.
Do a
She
little
can live it
risk.
just a little.
Just a little bit, though.
Yeah,
There you go.
Hey, smelled it.
So handsome.
So Simran, this is the part in the show where because there are so many great characters in the show doing great work, like saving lives, caring for their patients, we also like time to highlight a real life good doctor, someone who's doing great in the real world, whether it's a doctor, a technician, a nurse, whoever they may be. And this is where Taquaila gives us who our Doctor of the Week is.
Thank you, Veronica. So, Doctor of the Week is Dr. Bath. She is the first African American to complete a residency in ophthalmology and the first African American female doctor to receive a medical patent. She was the first female faculty member in the Department of Ophthalmology at UCLA's Jules Stein Eye Institute and the nation's first female residence program chair. Bath co-founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness after she invented the laser phaco probe for cataract treatment. She discovered that African Americans were twice as likely to suffer from blindness and 8 times more likely to develop glaucoma than others, and as a result created a community ophthalmology system, which increased eye care to the underserved. So that's a little bit about Dr. Beth, and I was surprised actually that she has a patent too. I think that's really huge in the medical field. Exactly, and just a little bit of kudos because she did have her undergrad at Howard University, my alumni school. So that again warmed my heart a little bit more. So, but yes, Dr. Bath and helping the underserved with glaucoma and blindness.
Amazing. We love it. All right, let us get into some predictions for next week's episode.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Your laughing is making me laugh.
We're serious about it.
All right, ladies, what do we got? Anything?
Can I have a minute to think? Can I go last?
I didn't know
I
we
want
were
to think.
As far as predictions, I think that possibly we get a little bit more focus on Morgan for some reason, maybe next episode, because we've been touching on her a little bit, but I think we might go a little bit deeper into something, highlighting her as a character. And yeah, like I said, I kind of think Andrews might throw a little, all right, Jabba, be careful. And I don't know how tight Andrews is on an office romance, but I sort of feel like he knows just a little bit. So I feel like he might see something next episode that prompts him to give him the side eye. And I also do think Glassman is going to cheer up a little bit. And that is all that I can predict as far as what I think next week will happen.
That's good. For me, I feel like Shaun's bubble's going to pop in terms of Leah. Like, he's going to let her know how he feels, because I feel like just having Jake there almost every day is going to take a toll. So I feel like Shaun might, at least not, like, say something to her, just because this episode was so much about love and, like, confessing, we saw those two characters. He's like, I think I love you, So, I feel like that's going to happen. I agree with you on that. Glassman might get a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, in terms of, I don't think Andrew knows, but I think that Chief of Surgery is definitely going to come in between Lim and Linda's relationship, because it's a promotion for them.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Well, I was going to ask Simran, is there anything you can share with us? Well, no, it's because it's like you shared that Freddie is directing an upcoming episode, so anything kind of along those lines, anything else?
Well, next week's episode is called Faces. It's written by David Hazelton. And what I can tell you is that when David Hazelton writes an episode, you should make sure you have tissues.
Well, great.
I can feel it.
That means. So it just, a whole bunch of emotions just went on, because Billie Jean Girl 24 in the chat asks, is anyone excited to see next week's episode, because she thinks Shaun's going to get high with Dr. Glassman. And so at first I was like,
Wait, what?
Okay, good. But then when you just said bring out the tissues, I think that just ruined that for us, Billie Jean Girl 24.
We just gotta
I would have loved to
be
see that,
patient.
actually. It probably would have
They
been
don't
awesome.
have to be
but-
mutually exclusive.
Okay. So we might be on to something. Thank you.
I mean, all I can say is we gotta be patient, and we cannot wait for next week. And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Good Doctor After Show. Simran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So
Thank you.
appreciate it. We know writers are incredibly busy, and the fact that you dedicated your time to being here with us tonight, we appreciate it so much.
No, I loved hanging with your squad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Squad, I like
Hey.
Yeah.
And where can the fans find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at @SBaidwan.
And ladies, where can the fans find you on
Hello,
social media?
AfterBuzzers again. Thanks for always tuning in to The Good Doctor. I am Taquaila. You can find me at Taquaila_I am.
And yes, I am Jaimi Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jaimi Alexander.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Cook with Carlina, and then everywhere else at Cooking with Carlina. I have a new recipe dropping on Friday.
Nice.
Hey, guys, Veronica Valencia here. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at It's Me, Veronica_V. Again, thank you so much to Simran. Let's give her a round of applause. And be sure to tune in next week, because apparently we need tissues.
Like, can you come back next week?
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.